Bookkeeping versus accounting. What's the difference? I'll be honest with you. This is a really boring topic for most people, but if you are interested in bookkeeping or accounting or finances or business in general, I actually think this topic is pretty interesting for people who are like me and kind of nerdy and who enjoy learning about bookkeeping and accounting. My name is Zach Pasquarello. I own my own bookkeeping business. I've been doing it for the past 4 years. I make these YouTube videos because honestly, I love talking about this stuff, and none of my friends and family want to talk to me about this. So I talk to all of you, all of my wonderful YouTube subscribers and followers. Seriously, thank you so much for following along on my journey. I hope this stuff is helpful. I hope I motivate and inspire you to start your own bookkeeping business. Of course, I have a bunch of links in the description of this video. Check out everything. I've got some resources for you. I've got a course. I've got some digital downloads. I've got one-on-one consultations. I've got a Facebook group. I've got live weekly meetings. It goes on and on and on. Some are paid, some are free. If you want to pay for them, that's cool. If you don't want to pay for them, that's also cool. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to spend money. I make a ton of free YouTube videos. So if you just want some free information, keep watching my YouTube videos. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm going to keep making them. So let's talk about it. Bookkeeping versus accounting. What's the difference? I'm going to talk about what does a corporate accountant do? What about accounts payable and accounts receivable clerk, office administrator, bookkeeper, reconciliations, tax prep, payroll, and maybe even CFO services? Let me just first start off by saying this. You can start a bookkeeping business with no work experience. You do not need to have a degree in accounting. You don't need to be a prior staff accountant or even a previous bookkeeper. Or an office manager. You don't need any experience. And I'm speaking that from my own experience. I literally started a bookkeeping business with no work experience relevant to accounting or business or finance. So let's talk about what is a corporate accountant. I had a little bit of experience about halfway through my bookkeeping career, my bookkeeping business. I actually got a job at a global pharmaceutical company local to Pennsylvania as a staff accountant. Staff accountant. What does that mean? What do they do? So on our team, we had a manager who managed 3 or 4 staff accountants, and then we had several accounts payable clerks and accounts receivable specialists. These people were getting checks, getting invoices, getting bills, recording them in the system, and then they were actually looking at bank deposits and they were sending out payments. And so they were doing all of the manual data entry. They were recording individual transactions. And then me as the staff accountant, my job was to approve the accounts payable and the accounts receivable after they were created by the clerks or by the specialists, APAR. So I was approving these transactions. And then I was also doing month-end journal entries. So like I was running depreciation. I was doing journal entries for like leasehold improvements and amortization schedules and just like a bunch of random journal entries for this big global Fortune 500 pharmaceutical company. So I was doing specific journal entries, like that higher level stuff that maybe your clerk or your admin assistant didn't really know how to do. And then I was also doing reconciliations. So that was pretty much my job. Complex journal entries, approving transactions, and monthly reconciliations as a staff accountant. That's what I was doing. And then probably more of the bookkeeper person was doing the manual data entry. So that's kind of like corporate accountant. That's probably the one and only thing I'm going to say about like corporate staff accountant, because the majority of you watching this video are probably here to learn how to start your own business. Entrepreneurs, small business owner. We're not really talking about corporate accounting. And honestly, I don't have that much experience. I had that job for 6 months, not a ton of experience in the corporate accounting world. So bookkeeping versus accounting. What's the difference? From what I understand, bookkeepers record transactions and do data entry, and then accountants interpret and analyze financial reports. So if you think about it, a bookkeeper does everything up until the creation or the generation of the profit and loss and balance sheet. And then the accountant is supposed to be that next level, a little bit more advanced, analyzing, interpreting, making decisions, making recommendations based on the reports generated by the bookkeeper. That's the big difference. Bookkeeper creates the reports, accountant analyzes and interprets the reports. So, who can be a bookkeeper? We have office administrators. They are much more basic. They probably don't have the level of accounting knowledge that a bookkeeper might have, but an office administrator can still do bookkeeping functions like I see a lot of office managers, office administrators going into QuickBooks and creating invoices, entering bills to be paid. But most office administrators don't know how to do journal entries. They don't know how to reconcile loans. They don't know how to create a prepaid expense spreadsheet. They don't know how to fix QuickBooks errors. So the office admin can do a lot of basic bookkeeping functions, but they can't really do all of the more, I would say, advanced functions of a bookkeeper. And then to take it a step further, the bookkeeper typically is not able or educated enough or required to do the more advanced functions of an accountant. So we kind of have like these three layers of sophistication: office administrator, office manager, admin assistant, executive assistant, virtual assistant, doing the very basic data entry, bookkeeper, maybe cleaning up some things, maybe doing the more complex journal entries for a small business, and then the accountant maybe doing the more advanced stuff. So that's kind of how I conceptualize what is the difference between bookkeeping and accounting. But let me take it one step further. Let me give you like a super applicable, really real world example for small business owners. There's really only 4 things that an accountant can do for a small business owner, at least with my limited 4 years of experience. Here's what I've seen. There's 4 things. Because people always ask me, they're like, are you an accountant? I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I'm a bookkeeper. I do bookkeeping. Am I an accountant? I don't really know. I don't have an accounting degree. I've been a staff accountant at a Fortune 500 company, but am I an accountant? What does that even mean? Forget about that. There's 4 things that accountants do. To answer your question, yes, I consider myself to be an accountant, but 4 things that accountants do: bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, and CFO services. 4 things that an accountant does for small business owners. I'm not talking about big companies, corporate staff accountants. I'm just talking our little entrepreneur world, small business, less than 50 employees, very small business. Bookkeeping, tax prep, payroll, and CFO services. Payroll, everyone pretty much knows what that is. If you have employees, you have to file federal, state, local payroll tax, unemployment, FICA, Social Security, Medicare, 940, 941. There's a lot of different jurisdictions, every county, every township, every state, a lot that goes into payroll. You have workers' compensation that might be considered payroll, wage garnishments, child support, overtime. A lot goes into payroll. There are specific companies who only do payroll. Me as a bookkeeper, I don't do payroll. There are some bookkeepers, some accountants who offer payroll services. There's also software companies like ADP and Gusto. They're kind of a payroll provider, but they're also kind of a software company. You have local payroll providers who might have their own software or might white label a larger company's software, but they also provide payroll, like they have a human running the payroll for you. A lot of different options. I'm not going to get into it much more than I just did because I stay away from payroll because it's complicated. It's important. If you mess it up, there's really significant real world implications because your client's employees' pay could be messed up. And then also, it's really time sensitive. So if you're somebody's outsourced bookkeeper and you're helping them run payroll and you want to take a 2-week vacation, usually pay periods are weekly or bi-weekly. So you have to run payroll. So I like to stay away from payroll. I don't do it for any of my clients, refuse to do payroll. Now we have tax prep. I definitely don't do tax prep. But the thing is, you don't have to be a CPA to do tax prep, to file taxes. You don't even need to be an enrolled agent to file taxes. Now, I know there's going to be somebody watching this video who's going to comment below and say, this is what's wrong with bookkeepers today. They think they can file taxes without being a CPA or an enrolled agent. I'm not recommending that any bookkeepers go out and start filing taxes. I'm simply letting you know. Technically speaking, you don't need to be a CPA to prepare taxes. With that being said, I do not prepare taxes. I do my own taxes. I don't do anybody else's taxes. There's a common misconception, and it goes like this. If I want to make more money, I have to offer more services. I have to do more. I have to do taxes to make more money. I can't make a lot of money just as a bookkeeper. Let me just say that I have 84 clients who pay me on average $500 per month. So I'm making $40,000 per month just doing bookkeeping. I'm not telling you that to brag or to suggest that I'm better than anybody else. I'm actually only telling you that to prove to you that you can make a ton of money just doing bookkeeping. So forget what anybody else says. Trust me, you can make a lot of money just doing bookkeeping. You don't need to do tax prep. Now we have CFO services. So I hope this video is helpful, guys. I'm just trying to break it down as like you could probably go to Google and you could probably ask ChatGPT what's the difference, and they'll give you a textbook definition. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to give you real world examples. No BS, what is actually the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant? So like I said, 4 different things: bookkeeping, tax prep, payroll, and CFO services. Last thing, CFO services. Before I get to that, like I said in the beginning of this video, check out all the links in the description of this video. I made all these resources just for you. Buy them if you want. I've got some free digital downloads for you. Check those out, totally free. I also have a free mini course that kind of introduces you to my full paid course. Check it out if you want, or just keep watching the video and don't worry about it. CFO services. This is really important. People think that like you can make a ton of money offering CFO services, and you can. That's true. You can charge $2,000 per month, not do any bookkeeping, just offer CFO services. But you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Bookkeeping tells you what happened yesterday. CFO services recommends what might happen tomorrow, or what you should do tomorrow, or what you should do differently tomorrow. Basically, bookkeeping, what happened in the past. CFO services, what might happen in the future. What should I change? What should I do differently? What should I do more of in the future? Budgeting, forecasting, CFO services, super helpful, very important, pretty complex. Not every bookkeeper can just do CFO or cash flow management. That's also a part of CFO services. Really important services, but totally different from bookkeeping. But both are equally important. You need bookkeeping in order to even have CFO services. Like a client can't just hire a CFO because CFOs don't want to do bookkeeping, and most bookkeepers don't know how to do CFO services. So you need to have both. If you're a business owner, you need to have somebody doing your taxes. You need to have somebody doing your bookkeeping. You don't need to have a CFO, but if you want to get that extra level of financial analysis, then you might want to hire somebody who's different from your bookkeeper and your CPA doing your taxes. Hire somebody completely different to do those CFO services. Last thing I want to say, being a bookkeeper is an amazing position to be in. We have this beautiful sweet spot where most office managers don't know how to do what we do. And that's okay. Office managers have their time and place. They help with scheduling. They help answer the phone. They help organizing internal events. They help the CEO and the executive team manage their calendars. Office managers, super important. Tax preparers, CFOs, they want to do taxes. They don't want to do bookkeeping. So us as bookkeepers, we have such a sweet spot, such an amazing opportunity to offer really valuable services that office administrators can't do and that CPAs don't have time to do or don't want to do. So we are positioned really well. We're very needed, very much needed in the small business entrepreneur world. And I don't think that artificial intelligence is going to take our jobs. But instead, I think that people who know how to leverage artificial intelligence are going to take your job. We're not going to be replaced by artificial intelligence, just like computers and the internet came around 20, 30 years ago. Computers and the internet did not take our jobs, but people who know how to use computers are taking jobs from people today who don't know how to use computers or don't feel comfortable using technology. So that's the difference, everybody, between bookkeeping and accounting. You've got staff accountants who work for Fortune 500 companies. You've got accounts payable and accounts receivable clerks, office administrators, executive assistants, office managers, bookkeepers doing the data entry and the bank reconciliations for small business owners. Then you've got tax preparers and payroll providers and CFO services. So hopefully this kind of helped conceptualize what is a bookkeeper and how is it different from an accountant or a tax preparer. If you ever have a client ask you, like, are you an accountant? You can say yes. You can confidently say, yes, I am an accountant. If you do accounting functions like journal entries and bank reconciliations and accounts payable and accounts receivable, in my opinion, you're an accountant. You are doing some accounting functions. But bookkeeping is more of the data entry, and accounting is more of that higher level analysis and interpretation. So hopefully this video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting every single week for the rest of 2025. I'm going to be posting videos kind of in like a systematic fashion, so that I'm going to be teaching you all how to start your own bookkeeping business. In January, I made videos about like starting a bookkeeping business. And then I made videos about like software and how much does it cost to start your bookkeeping business. Next week, I'm going to talk about my social media marketing strategy. After that, I'm going to talk about how to transition from being an employee to being self-employed. And then after that, I'm going to talk about 10 creative ways to find bookkeeping clients in 2025. So stick around for my 2025 series, How to Start Your Own Bookkeeping Business.